My name is Denisha, and I'm excited to be here. This podcast is dedicated to mental health awareness and telling stories and providing resources. And our guest today is Lynesha, and I'm so happy to have her here. We actually met on Threads, but I'll let her give a little introduction about herself.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so
Mhm.
excited about this opportunity and the connection on Threads. Like, people need to show
Mhm.
up. This is an example of showing up for yourself and talking about what we're doing because the world needs what we have.
Yes.
So, just a little bit about me. So, yes, I'm Lynesha Marie, aka the Fly Coach. That stands for Fulfilling Living Year Round. And
Mhm.
where that came from is my corporate background is human resources. And if you would have asked me where I would have been 10 years ago, the answer would have been working in the C suite in HR. That's all I envisioned. But as I started pursuing my purpose and passion, I started realizing how unsatisfied employees were in their work. They're just showing up to work a job to pay bills, but they're not really tapping into their skills and really utilizing their strengths and their abilities to
Mm.
create wealth. And so that's how I pivoted into coaching because I'm like, that's no way to live. I'm like, it's time to fly. And I'm like, you see so many individuals that are fulfilled. They're happy when it's Christmas. They're happy when the sun is shining. But when it's not, now the world is different. And it's like,
Mm.
how can you thrive in every area of life and experience fulfillment? And fulfillment
Mhm.
is found in purpose. And so that's where fulfilling the fly life came from. It's like living intentionally, thriving spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and professionally. And so I actually help women create purpose driven income streams
Mhm.
beyond the 9 to 5. As an HR professional, I tell people all the time jobs are not promised, layoffs happen all the time. And if we rely on one stream of income, we are literally one step away from poverty because if that
Mm.
stream is taken away, what are we going to do? And so I help individuals monetize their skills to create additional income outside of that job because it's not quit your job day, but
Mhm.
increase your income, increase the speed of your income in order to do what you've been created to do. So that's a little bit about me. And I love travel. And
Mhm.
so I merged my coaching business with the travel business. So that's why I say it's time to fly. We fly
Mhm.
literally and we fly figuratively. And I just enjoy it. So that's a little bit about me. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's a beautiful intro. I love it. I love the fact that you incorporated what you went through in your corporate world and you branched off and created your own business. And you can tell that you feel connected to what you're doing based on, your tone and how you express it. So I love to see that. I love to see people passionate about what they're doing. And I wanted to ask you and to give some background to the audience. You said you were in HR and you made this transition. What made you make the transition?
Yes. So I touched on it, but I didn't tell why I transitioned, right? So
Yeah.
I can tell you this. I love to travel, as I mentioned. I was in
Mhm.
Grenada having the time of my life. And at this point in time, right. And at that point in time, no, I was not in the travel business, but I just was vacationing because that's something that I always did. I used to be a flight attendant.
Mhm.
And so I came back to work day one. And day one from vacation, anybody can tell you like you're getting unburied from those emails. Okay. And especially working in HR, something happens like literally every 10 minutes. It's a new email.
Mhm.
And so it was on that day, day one back from vacation. You have the vacation glow, right? We have the
Mhm.
vacation here, ladies.
Mhm.
And my job told me that my role was no longer needed.
Mm.
And that was just something you never expect to be like, especially when you're doing good work and to be told that, hey, we as a business, we're changing some things. And as a
Mhm.
result, your role is not needed any longer. And so that's what caused me to pivot. I knew the pivot was coming. I just didn't expect it like that. So that's another
Mm.
conversation. So that's what really got me into full-time entrepreneurship. And then literally the travel business presented itself 2 days later. Everything happens for a reason. And here we are today.
Wow. Well, that was a good story. I feel like you will always need to know why we get to the point that we're in because sometimes we don't understand how we got there. And when we back up and think, like, okay, hold on, why did this happen? Was because sometimes you get scared when these things happen. Like, okay, I got laid off. What do I do? And layoffs are real, real because they are happening, especially at this time. I have seen so many layoffs happening. I feel like since 2020, it's kind of been crazy. But now there's a ramp up right now in the beginning of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question as a HR professional, how do you, or how did the company maybe you worked with kind of handle these layoffs um, prior? And what I mean by that is, do you think there's an emotional side that's taken into account for layoffs?
No.
Mhm.
um, I would say, as just in HR, just in general, and sitting in the conversations, because mind you, I've been through layoffs. I've been on the other side of the table where I've had to
Yeah.
communicate separations. And really, it just comes down to business need. It comes down to the bottom line. How much money will we save? But it
Hmm.
also plays into performance. And so it's not necessarily emotional, but I tell individuals, make sure you do a good job, because when it comes time to making those difficult decisions, they're absolutely going to, yes, it's sometimes it's low, if it's a unionized environment, sometimes it's, based on seniority. But in those instances where it's not, they are absolutely looking at performance to see, is
Hmm.
this someone that we can retain? Is this someone that can take on additional work? Because we know what happens in layoffs. The workload doesn't go away, they just spread it out.
It goes over there. Yeah. Everybody get a
So,
piece of it.
right. And so we're taught not to have an emotional piece of it, because at the end of, because we
Hmm.
can get caught up in that, like, people are losing their jobs. This is, letting someone go is never easy. It's never an easy conversation. And so it's like, no, how do you remove your emotions and say, this is just a business decision?
Yeah. Because all of these things affect your mental health, like what we're talking about today. Like, okay, being on one side and you having to be the person to help out with this, and then you being affected by it, it's like I can imagine it being like a shock. Like, okay, now I have to put on this maybe armor or whatever I need to kind of push past it, and
Hmm.
that can be challenging.
Yes.
And I know when we talked before, and I want to go back to, like, the flight attendant, and I know we talked prior to this about traveling and how that also affects your mental health. So, like, when you're talking about, okay, I'm back off vacation, now it's time to work. Like, that mental switch is difficult. It is a challenge. So,
Woo.
how does travel help with your mental health?
Oh my goodness. For
Hmm.
me, travel, and it's why I want to bring travel to so many people, is because getting out of your everyday, the run of the mill, you're doing, it's the same thing. You wake up, you go to work, maybe you have
Hmm.
kids, doing the everyday things. It can get kind of tiring, you can get burnt out from it. And so when you travel, it gives you an opportunity to kind of woosah. You get a moment
Hmm.
to breathe. You get a moment to relax. And we love the moments when our phone is not working. Well, I use this lightly because I like social media too. So sometimes when that internet was not working, I'm like, wait a minute. But if the
Yeah.
people can't reach you, it's like,
Mm.
okay, I can't check my emails. I don't want to check my emails. But we know in America, we have this different ideology when it comes to working on vacation. Still, there's still a lot of work to be done in that area. But
Hmm.
for me, travel gives you just an opportunity to get into a new environment, and it's like the ideas are flowing. It's just like there's low pressure, there's
Hmm.
low it's no like urgency, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, then I have to do this, I have to do this. It's like
Hmm.
I can choose what I want to do. What do I want to eat today? Things
Yeah.
just are like, what activity do I want to do today? And so it's just like kind of is an infilling that happens. And then also you're in this place. So it's a learning opportunity. You're seeing what other cultures, like, what are they doing? Or even
Hmm.
cities if you travel domestically, because I can tell you Wisconsin is very different than LA. Okay. So
Yeah.
see that difference. And so it's a transformative experience for me, and definitely a self-care
Mm.
tactic.
I love to travel. Like, in my ideal, no, let me back up. The ideal life that I'm creating, because I don't want to say try, because we talked about that too, is being able to travel, like, and incorporate it in a way that it's not like, can I do this? It's like, oh no, I have to do this and I need to do this. Because
Mm,
my mental health needs to be separated from all the busyness. Because, like, the emails, the pings, the teams, I'm like, please stop. It's too much. And the meetings, like, it's just back to back to back. And having the opportunity to go somewhere new or somewhere that you've been before and just relax, or
yeah.
and like, it just puts your brain in a different zone. It just feels good.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. That vacation glow is real, right? And people are like, I wish I could just vacation forever. And then it's like, oh, I have to go back to the real world, right? And like you said, that switch is like, well, hello world. Well, I was just on, I was kind of on pause on vacation, and now
Yeah.
everything is still waiting for me, like waiting at the door, like, hello.
Surprise. Surprise.
So it is a big
Um,
switch for sure.
so when did you decide to incorporate travel into your purpose and providing that service to others?
So honestly and truthfully, I had no intention. All I
Hmm.
knew is okay, I like to travel over here. Um, and then as my transition was happening in the workplace, I was introduced to the business. And honestly, when I was introduced to the business, I thought about it selfishly. And I tell people this all the time. I just was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm traveling, I'm going somewhere. So I can
Hmm.
use this. You mean I can make money on my travel or I can save money on my travel? Like, sign me up. You don't have to convince me. You don't have to twist my arm. But
Yeah.
it was as I started to go into, I'm big on reflecting. I'm big
Mm.
on quiet time and just like listening, like for strategy. Now, mind you, I'm in a transition. I was in a transition time. And so it's like, okay, I need strategy. Like, what am I doing? And it was when I just got in that quiet time and was able to really start thinking about my business and what did I envision. I'm like, I always have loved connection. I know we talked about this
Mhm.
connection, collaboration, and community. Like those three
Mhm.
things are important to me. So I've always known when it came to my coaching business that I wanted to bring individuals together. It's like, yeah, Zoom is great. I love a virtual space,
Mhm.
okay? Because I
But
can
in
work from anywhere.
person.
It
Yeah.
works. But that in person is so needed. So I'm like, I've always wanted to bring women together,
Mhm.
but I just didn't think that far ahead at that, like when I initially thought about it, like, oh, I can do this with my travel. I can do this through travel. I can bring it in house. And not only this, that brings additional income into my business. Like, hey, I can
Mhm.
put the trip together. I mean, I still work on my delegation and my type A controllingness.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, as I continue to scale the team can take care of all of the logistics and planning. Right now, I'm, been fine tuning my SOPs and all that.
Mhm.
Like, what does that look like? But it's like, oh, I can bring this in house and I can manage this in house, and I don't have to wait for somebody. Like, I can literally just do this. And so that's where it kind of just started unfolding from there. And I'm like, okay, I'm on a journey here.
Listen, and it is a journey. It's a life journey, and that makes me think. So, what type of traveler are you? Are you the type of person that likes to go immerse into whatever that culture is? Are you like a resort person, or it doesn't? It just feel whatever the vibe is. Like if I go here, I'm doing that. If I'm going there, I'm doing this. Like what type of vibe do you like to take into account when you're traveling?
So I would say I'm a hybrid, but I'm more of a traveler. There's the vacationer and then there's the
Hmm.
traveler. The vacationers love to
Okay.
stay on the resort, right? Get me off of the resort. I have to at
Yeah.
least get out of there for 1 or 2 days. Like, I don't want to
Hmm.
just stay there. And so I want to go see I'm there for a reason. Like, I want to go see, like, what do the locals do? Where do the locals go? What do they eat? What do the locals eat? And it's cheaper a lot of times. And so, that's why I love going to do excursions. It's like, I didn't even talk about my background, the goals around the globe, but it's like we have this big beautiful world that's been created, and it's like there's more than just the resort. So get off of the resorts, get out of the hotels. Now we use wisdom, be
Hmm.
safe, but it's like if I don't get a chance to do more, like, and get out in the local area and see what is really happening in this area, I feel
Hmm.
like it's a disservice. I'm like, I
Mm.
missed what did I miss? I don't know. Now I'm like, I have to go back. So
Yeah. Now I have to book another trip for longer because I didn't get to do all the things that I needed to do. So,
so it's just, I don't know. It's just a big world, and I'm like, I come from a place where people will barely drive 90 minutes to the next metropolitan city. And I'm like, this world is so big, and get out of your comfort zone. And so that's
it's
why it's not important.
with that, and like you said, the world is literally so big. You really don't know. There's so many worlds that exist outside of your own world. Like you're talking about, like being from LA, people go to Vegas. Like Vegas, Mexico, Vegas, Mexico. But
Mm.
that's just like the common things. But I'm like, there's other states, there's other places, there's so many other things you can do, and even me personally trying to get into the mindset of there's more than what you have been accustomed to, and it's okay to go explore those places because I find it sometimes, people want to keep you safe in their bubble. Like we know this is okay, we don't know if this is okay. So how do you kind of incorporate that with traveling?
Oh, okay. My mind is going so many different directions because you were talking
Mhm.
about how people want to see keep you safe in their bubble, and
In
I'm
their
like,
bubble.
and it's like, but that's your bubble, right? And your bubble is limiting you, and I want to
Hmm.
get outside of the bubble because that's just so limiting to me. And but that took a lot of mindset work. That took a lot of self-reflection and awareness to say what are my limiting beliefs. So even when you were talking about there's so much more, a lot of people, that's hard for a lot of people to just even fathom, or even like, what do you mean, like, this is all I know, this is what it is. And
Yeah.
it's like, like there's literally so much more available. And so having to shift from like a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset is
Hmm.
really where that came. And that's really where my journey and my like transformation in my mindset has started to like shift and evolve. But I don't even know
Who?
if that answered the question, but I was
No,
that's
I was gonna ask you a follow up question because did anybody inspire you to kind of have that mindset of like go out and find more, or was there an experience that happened and you were like, oh, there is more out here? Like,
oh, so I would say no. What
mm,
really um what really happened is that number one, I had to conquer my fear of flying. I used to be terrified to
oh,
fly.
I still hate flying. It scares me. I'm always afraid, and it's terrible. I still go, but I'll be like, oh my god, this is terrifying.
No, so I mean, I used to be terrified, and then I randomly applied to be a flight attendant. So that's what allowed me to get over my fear of flying. Now I prefer it. Like I'll fly from Milwaukee to Chicago. Like drive,
Oh, that's
I don't want to
dope.
drive 90 minutes. Like fly, please. Um, and so I think that experience is what helped me because that's not anything like my
Mm,
parent, like growing up, we traveled like really close places. Like we didn't go necessarily far. Like we went to Disney. And so it wasn't something that I necessarily always saw growing up is like people
mm,
going and people getting out and people stretching. And so it just was more so just from that experience. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm meeting so many different people. I'm networking, I'm connecting. Like, and then you start looking around in your surroundings and you're like, well, people just want to stay here. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so it's just, I think as I've become a more, I'm always been curious and inquisitive, and I've always asked a lot of questions. And so it's like, okay, well, let me go and visit. Like, this is okay, this is something. So
yeah.
no, it was not a person. It's just been more so just my personal development and my individual growth and learning that I'm like, there's more to this than what I have right here and what I'm seeing. And like you said earlier, like I can't allow someone else's fear. Like I go places and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going there! Oh my gosh, it's a
Hmm.
threat level 4." And then now,
Yeah.
like now people are like, "Oh my gosh, the planes!" And I'm like, "Listen, if
Hmm.
we lived in fear, we would never leave our house. Let's be real, because
There you
cars,
go. That part.
trains, everything that's man made is subject to fail, and it's probably going to. And
Hmm.
so it's I can't afford. I refuse to stifle my life and my future because I'm so fearful of what may happen, and it may never happen. And so it's like I choose to live. I want to
I
enjoy my life.
choose to live. That was a word. That was a word right there because uh man, I feel like I got so much to say because I feel as though I was raised to be safe, but also push the boundary, but like don't push it too much, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's okay, but still, like stop. Like that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Come back. And I grew up in LA, then I went to school in Virginia, then I lived in Atlanta for like a year. And when I was in Virginia and I traveled back and forth to LA and Virginia, that's where I was like, well, I got to get on the plane, so I don't know what else to do. But I started to explore different methods of traveling too. And I noticed they each of them also kind of affected my mindset in a way. Like, okay, when you're on the plane, You gotta get your stuff together. You gotta be on time. Like, this plane is gonna leave regardless. So let's do that. So it's kind of stressful, and I'm scared of flying, so there's a stress with that. And then I
Mm.
explored. I actually did a road trip from Virginia to California, in a car with my boyfriend, and that was an experience. And I was like, okay, this is a different method of traveling. I wouldn't recommend doing it in a Ford Focus because that was a tiny car, but it also provided like this type of slowness that I was like, okay, it doesn't
Mm.
also have to be go, go, go. And
Okay.
then I also tried, I did a train ride from Virginia to California.
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, now that's a different experience. And I actually, it was slow. It was very slow. I cannot lie. But I loved it because it allowed me to watch what was happening instead of just concentrating on the destination. It was like, oh, I've never seen this side of the country, not from this perspective. So that's why I love traveling. I love the different methods of traveling. I love the mindset that it kind of puts you in, and it helps me regulate my nervous system when
Mm.
personally. So that's why I wanted to call that out. Have you ever tried any method of traveling beyond like driving, planes, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've taken now. I haven't gone on a extensive train ride from
Yeah,
Virginia to that's a long one.
it was.
My patience is not quite there. That's a long one. But yes, I mean, I've taken road trips. Like when I moved from Wisconsin to Houston, I had to
Mhm.
drive, and I'm like, this is where I find out road trips are not for me. No, thank you. I've taken cruises, so I've been,
Yeah, cruise.
so I liked when you brought up the differentiation between the go 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 and the hustle. That airport anxiety is real. People. I tell people all the time. Like as a previous flight attendant, I'm like something happens to people's brains when they come to the airport. It's like as
Mhm.
soon as they step foot and walk through that door, everything goes out the window. And
Yes.
so it's like, they forget, they don't know anything, they can't read the signs, they forget how to count to get to their seats. It's just like it's so interesting. And
Mhm.
I love to analyze people sometimes. And so I'm like, just what happens? That's just quite a phenomenon.
Mhm.
But I've take when you were talking about how even the train, is slow, but you still get to see things from a different perspective. And it's different from driving because in driving, you're focused on I have to focus on where I am. I have to focus on what's happening. So how the train gave you a chance to just sit and
Mhm.
what it look. And I really like that differentiation that you brought out. I'm gonna have to reflect on that some more.
Yeah. I think it's not something that's when you talk to people, I feel like especially now in this we're in 2025. A lot of people ain't taking a train somewhere, right? Like I'm getting on this plane so I can get there in 2 hours. I'm not doing a 10-hour train ride. So,
Hmm.
but I do challenge people to try it because I feel like it definitely does give you a different insight on slowness because I feel like our whole society, American society, is go 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 go. You got to get to this. You got to do that. You got to do this, and that in itself it messes with your brain because it's like
Hmm.
I don't have enough time. I have to keep going, and you don't get the time to reflect. And me
Hmm.
personally, I just started learning that I was reflecting in general. And what I mean by that is like I've always needed alone time to kind of
Hmm.
just be because from people, things, places, I just need to be away, separate, so I can process what's happening and be aware of what's happening. But I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was just like, I just need to go away, and
Mm.
how that affected my mental health. So like when you coming back to work and you had this peaceful time, and now you go back to ping, 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 and it's like, okay, give me a second, please. I need to breathe. So it just all really ends up affecting your mental health because nobody
Mm.
teaches you how to regulate these
Mm.
different things that happen in your life.
Hmm.
And that's why I love what you do because traveling has helped me a lot with my mental health.
Hmm.
And I didn't even know it did until you mentioned it in that first call we had. I was like, well, hell yeah. I need to go. I need to go somewhere, even if it's sitting in the forest for 3 days and nobody looking at me, and I'm just sitting there to be to myself. So,
Absolutely. And I didn't recognize it either
mhm.
until the first time I went to Jamaica and I learned about island time. And I'm
Mm,
like,
what's island time?
so island time is where it's just like they're not, nonchalant. Like it's gonna, don't worry, be happy. Like we're just it's going
We
to
can.
happen. We're going to do, you know, but Americans are so, like you said, it's like, go, go, go. I need to do this. I need to go here. I need to do that. And it's like, a lot of cultures don't operate like that. And I didn't recognize it. And I even have a friend who recently relocated from the States to Japan for this very
Mm,
reason, because they said over here, it's like, yeah, we work. Yeah, we do, we get the job done, but it's not that it's not the, I don't want to say overbearing, but it's just not that much pressure to always be doing something. And oh my gosh, I'm here, I'm there, and you're not giving yourself space. And so they are loving it over there in Japan.
mm.
And I'm like, wow. And I've been in Africa. It's the same. It's like, you know, they don't care if it takes 2 hours for their food to come out because they're in the moment. They're enjoying conversation with people. And I'm over here like, where's my food? Like, you know, so
It's been 30 minutes. I don't see nothing. Yeah.
exactly. But to your point, it's like, man, it's in that, but I wouldn't have never been exposed to that if I never left.
And that is the key. And that's why I love the fact that you are spreading awareness about travel. And if people, I don't, it is hard to explain to somebody. If you leave this place that you're accustomed to, you will literally just change. You can't even explain that the way that they're going to change because you don't always know either. It's just
Mm-mm.
it just clicks something. It's like you really can be confined, and it blows my mind when I think about it too. It's like you really, some people never leave their city. Like you only know this, you don't know anything else, and then you can't fault them for it either because it's like I feel as though um not everybody's taught. Sometimes you have to learn that. Sometimes you're placed in an environment where you didn't even think about it until you was put into it. Like
Right.
so, if people had more, I feel like access and understanding,
Mm-hmm.
resources to that these things do exist and that it's scary but still do it because I think that's what stops a lot of people. And it's scary, so I can't do it. Scared, do it scared, do it scared, and I learned how to do it scared a long time. When I decided to go from California to Virginia, I was like, well, I have no idea what's gonna happen. I don't know, no, I don't know, but we're gonna have to figure it out. And from me developing that capacity, it's changed my life because
Mm-hmm.
it forces me to continuously do things even when I'm scared to do them because I don't want to limit my life from that.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it's, but to your, it, like you said, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. And some people just like, well, because I don't know what to do, I'm just not gonna do anything at all. But now you're paralyzed. You're paralyzing yourself in your present when your future is saying, hey, hey, there's so much more over here. There's so much more I want to teach you. There's so much more I want you to learn about yourself, about others. And but because you're so afraid, you're going to allow you to stay where you are. But not only that, I was actually in a coaching conversation earlier this week, and the individual had not been anywhere. And when I asked the question, I said, well, when's the last time they just came back from a cruise? And I'm like, well, when's the last time you've been on a trip? And they're like, the minute you have to pause and think and start counting back the years and decades, I'm like, oh no. And in that conversation, it really started to, it was what really came out was that they're like, well, I didn't really know if I deserved it because I work. I'm a work
Ooh,
all the time. And I'm like, what? That was like literally a mind blowing conversation for me because it's like, I never really thought about, because America is so ingrained to work all the time. And like I touched on earlier, some people go on vacation and still work. Like they
yes,
feel it's the guilt and the shame of, oh my gosh, I'm taking off. Oh my
that's
gosh, I'm
me.
taking a break. Like that is mental. That is some mind work that needs to happen. But it's like not even knowing that you deserve it. And this individual actually is at the end of like they're retired, but then went back to work because some people don't know
Mm.
how to sit down. But it's like, you mean to tell me you worked this many years, 30 plus years, and you didn't think that you deserved it? But then it's on the awareness on the other side now that they're like, I do deserve it. And now I want to go somewhere else.
Yes, and you know what? I resonated though with your client for saying that because I felt that way. I don't deserve to do this thing. I don't deserve to relax until
Mm,
X, Y, and Z because the way that I grew up was produce, produce, produce. And if you're always
mm,
taught to produce, you're not taught to rest. Because how do I rest when I have X, Y, and Z to do? I can't. I don't have time. And you don't know how to build the time, and you don't know what rest looks like. So, because that's
Mm.
taken negatively, like taking a nap. Oh my God. Taking a nap? I did not know that was okay to do. Even till college. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this. I feel like I need to be doing something else. I have to be. How are you taking a nap right now? So, but and that's a mindset shift though. It's a mindset
Mhm.
shift for people to tell you, and sometimes you need to hear it's okay to stop. Like you do deserve. You don't have to have an output to deserve something. You can just deserve it.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
It's a hard
Mm.
lesson to learn. Self worth. It's all. It comes into all that. So,
Wow.
how long have you been doing your coaching so people can learn about it, be a part of it?
Yeah, so I've been a coach for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was actually coaching before then. And then I was doing it for free. And
Mm-hmm.
then one day my mom was like, "This is a whole career. You didn't know this?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's why, and then at that moment, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Let me see. I'll still do some things for free. And then it wasn't until I actually dealt with COVID. I think I told you that. Yeah, I dealt with
Mm-hmm.
COVID and I was hospitalized for 3 weeks. I was in the ICU for 2 and on a ventilator for a week.
Oh my
But
God.
prior to going into the hospital, I heard the word that said, "We don't have time to waste time. What are we doing with the time that we had?"
Mm.
And I didn't know what it meant until I came out on the other side of the hospital experience where I knew I was not supposed to make it out of there. And I'm like,
Mm.
thank you. Every day I'm grateful because I know I wasn't supposed to walk out of that. So now on the other side, I'm like, no, if I'm called to coaching, I can't play with this. Like I can't afford to just tiptoe and say, okay, I'll do it maybe a little bit. I'm not gonna take it
Mm.
seriously. Like, no, like life is literally not promised. Tomorrow is not promised. Today is not promised, right? And so it's like, and people are like, today is not. No, it's we wake up today, but some people don't make it to the end of today. And so it's like, um, what am I doing? And that's why the coaching came into like, no, I need to take this seriously because not only was it a lesson that I had to learn, like, no, you need to get to work because there's some things
Mm.
that you need to do. There's some things that you need to deposit into this generation. There's some things that I need you to do because you were born in this time, in this space for a reason to do something
Mm.
because there's something on the inside of you. So me sitting on that, me sitting on my gifts, me sitting on what I know I was called to do and not being obedient is going to cost someone else. And I'm like, oh, it's bigger than me. And once I move myself out of the way, then that's when I'm like, okay, well, here we are. Here we are, world.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
here we are. That got to get out of your own way is the hardest thing to do. You like, okay. Like you said, you were called to do this for a reason and you got to step. And when you going to step, you got to step. You can't half step it. So, um, how can they find you? Where is it? Website, YouTube, TikTok? Where can they find you?
okay. So I'm pretty much on every single social media platform. Same name, Lynesha Marie.
Mm-hmm.
And then my website is www.lyneshamarie.com.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it simple and easy where you can find me and connect with me and we can continue this conversation. I am on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would love to continue this conversation with you. This platform is going to bless so many people. It
Mm-hmm.
is a much needed conversation. Um, and I felt like we had the tip of the iceberg, just even,
Just a
the
tip. I
permission to think
agree.
there's so many conversations that can come out of what we just talked about in this short amount of time. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm honestly so thankful that you decided to connect with me and fill out the form and come on here because it's like you got to have faith for this because this is new. Like some people like wouldn't really do that because like, well, what is it? What is it? I can't see it. I don't know what it is. So the fact that you are allowing me to uh, do this with your trust of not knowing me and not knowing what this is means a lot. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's how can what I do and what you do help both of us win? Because we're not in competition. We're each called
Mm-mm.
to do something different. And it's all about collaboration because we can go so much further and so much further faster if we do that. And so
You are so right. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm all about community, especially with like-minded individuals. And I know this ain't gonna be the last time we talk and the last
Absolutely
time
not.
thing that we do together, because I can see a lot of possibilities from this short conversation. So I'm excited to
Absolutely.
keep going and keep growing. I'm
Yes, the goal is to grow. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
period. Period. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming on. I'm gonna put all your details below so everybody can come find you and get access to your resources and just keep growing like you just said. This is gonna be a beautiful thing. So thank you.